Hello, everybody, and welcome to this podcast with me, Steve Costello, and my partner in psychology, Leo Faerberg, over there in Ireland. Hi, Leo.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Good to be here once more. We've been a bit quiet for the last few weeks, but such is life, eh? So, what we're going to talk about today, here's a question for everybody to consider. Are you healing or just high functioning with trauma? We're going to break, don't worry about that sounding a bit complicated because we're going to break it down. But one of the things that is around, certainly in my practice, and it's around because I know it is because I Googled it
Mhm.
to see what sort of conversations were going on. There is a growing awareness online, and as I said, in my practice, that relates to high functioning anxiety. So a lot of my clients come to me with various forms and various levels of anxiety. And one of the things that seems common in many people is that they appear to be doing well. They appear to be really successful. They appear to work hard. They appear to be having a nice time. Somebody actually said that to me the other day. I'm having a nice time, which
Yeah.
was interesting. But the thing is, when we look under the hood or under the surface, actually, they're not that well. And there are some trauma. And what they're doing is using the appearance of successful to cover the fact that really they're not too well. Now, of course, not everybody falls into that category, that area, whatever you want to call it, but there are many people who do. So what do you think, Leo? What can we start to do about this to enable people to move on from appearing successful to really being well and really being successful?
I think things are moving in this direction. As you said, it's on the on internet. People are talking about. People are paying more attention to it. But the first thing is acknowledgement, being aware of the burdens you carry and you hide from your own inner sight, because you cannot show up in the society looking weak or burdened because our society doesn't like the pain, doesn't like to see somebody suffering. And though, again, we are talking about becoming more tolerant to it or accepting the fact that many people struggle with mental health, and more people will struggle with mental health because of their situations and the general situation that humanity is going through and the planet is going through. And so it's just a matter of you cannot regulate it from top down. You can only be there for people that start becoming aware, start questioning uh, that they have two worlds basically. They have this shell sometimes for themselves. It's not that they're hiding something consciously. They don't want to deal with the with this backyard.
Yeah. I think there's some great points there. One of the things that frequently comes up is relates to self-reflection.
Mhm.
And I know people have said to me in the very recent past, yeah, I do self-reflection. But when you ask the question, no, they don't, not really. They think they're doing it. And that kind of leads on to something else as well, where people tell me, and I certainly read about this, is that people say, I'm doing the work, the personal growth, the personal development, the resilience work, whatever it happens to be. I'm doing the work. But when we dig in and take a look, what they're actually doing is they are doing the work, but they're bypassing the emotional core of it.
Yeah.
So the work doesn't work. And then what does that lead to? These programs don't work. I'm not going to do that anymore. But that's not quite the truth, is it?
No, it's not. I agree. and but it's like everybody I think heard of Dunning-Kruger's effect, and usually this thing is used to describe, the levels like of stupidity that people that are not educated, or I'm sorry to use the terms, let's say stupid, that they don't understand some you know pa some information, some knowledge. They don't know that there should be something. So I think the same thing can be applied to understanding of your own uh, hidden uh, and suppressed traumas. Just because you don't know they're there, you know there's something, but one thing you just don't know what to look. And it's not just knowledge. We often use the word conscious or to know things, but actually this is emotional work. It's not intellectual. Oh, I've read everything about trauma. Oh, I took this course and I listened to the teacher or instructor or the expert. But it's the emotion that has to be worked through. And the second thing, one thing is not knowing or not or underestimating. And the other thing, as soon as you touch emotions, it hurts. It hurts badly. And no one wants to go there. That's why people actually for ages used the help of somebody. Nowadays, the therapists and counselors and everybody, but they through all the ages, people needed somebody to help them go down this path, which is, if it's not painful, it's not inner work.
Some interesting points there as well. So just to go back to the thing I started with, and you followed
Yeah,
beautifully, is
I think.
so there's a lot of people following personal development programs, but if you look at the statistics for success, I can't say the word, for successful completion of programs, the statistics are massively high for not completing,
Yes, up to
ridiculously high.
90 something percent.
Yeah, exactly. And people report things like they feel stuck, they feel numb, they feel like they're doing all the right things, but somehow they're not feeling better. So that kind of emphasizes what we've been talking about so far.
Mhm.
So let's think about some of the signs. We've talked about a few already, but let's kind of separate them out a bit. Signs that somebody is functioning, but yet they're not really flourishing. So, what psychological signs can we point to enable people to begin to question what's going on? Because we're about helping, we're not about
Mhm.
blaming or pointing fingers,
Absolutely.
those things. So, what are some of the signs that somebody is functioning but not really flourishing? What do you think, Neil?
Uh, Sometimes the first thing that comes to my mind is that if sometimes you just can sense it, that this tightness, this like smiley mouth but not smiley eyes, it's all in the appearance. And then when you start talking, where you can see where the accents go, where the emphasis is. It's like it feels like sometimes like toxic positivity. And then when you start questioning, people try to avoid the painful topics, or
Yeah,
maybe just, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. So, oh, I know everything about my traumas. I don't want to go there. They're sometimes very open about, I know everything. There's nothing new you can tell me.
yeah, that's a good point. I came across one very recently where somebody was talking about feeling sad, and the sadness was not surprising given the events that this person was talking about. So that was okay. But very suddenly, during the conversation, the sadness turned into anger.
Mhm.
And it was very clear that the anger was misdirected. There was nothing to be gained from being angry. But yet, this person exploded and was very frustrated and very annoyed and almost not physically, but as though this person was banging on the table because of this anger. So that was an interesting sign that gave me lots of signposts to follow up on.
Yeah, yeah.
But it became clear that that person wasn't flourishing as well as she presented in the beginning. You know, that was one of the pointers. So that was quite interesting. Feeling numb. I
Mm,
mentioned feeling numb earlier, that people often report that they feel numb, like they're doing all the right things, but somehow it doesn't make them feel better. I asked somebody what I always seem to have clients that are female who report these amazing things that we can talk about. That's nothing to do with the guys being poor or anything like that. Interesting. Um, she talked about feeling numb, as though she was doing all the things that she thought she needed to do, but still afterwards didn't feel like saying, yeah, I did that, I achieved that, that was cool. She just felt numb, as though her emotions were put back a few steps. So her emotions weren't catching up with her present moment. That was quite an interesting conversation. She was also functioning quite well in her daily life, in the job that she does, and so on and so on. She seemed to be on top of it, but she definitely wasn't flourishing. And
mhm.
that numbness was the thing that brought out the fact that she wasn't flourishing,
And
because I began to
probably,
question the numbness.
I'm sorry, uh, and probably the fact that she's busy and doing so many things, it also a tool and a sign of somebody trying to to put down the pain. It's like being busy, making all this story. It's not a fake story, by the
No,
way, but it's just a story of success. It's just a big shield that covers other needs not being uh, tended to, you know?
yeah, yeah. So, are there any practical ways for people to check if they're stuck in this kind of loop of looking good on the outside but not so good on the inside? What can people do practically to check for themselves? What do you think?
I think again, we have to start with awareness, and probably everybody has to ask, is there a dark side? Is there something that I don't want to look at? You don't have to, you know, go into this place, but first ask, because if you um, at least get an answer that yes, there is something, because everyone has it. It's just the law of nature. You cannot be all happy and fluffy and floating above the earth or standing on a pedestal, uh, enjoying your success. This is just part of life, and sometimes the tiniest part of life, but everybody sees it on Instagram.
Yeah,
You have to ask, is there anything that is deep there that hurts, that I don't want to face? And probably leave it there for a while unless you're ready, because again, if you totally in this blissful uh, state that you are absolutely happy and everything is absolutely fine, and you there's no way anyone can help you, and
yeah,
then I still think it doesn't matter how many books, self-help books there are, how many courses you take, you still at some point you need somebody to go along with this path with you, and because sometimes you have just to hold, like as a therapist, you know that any pain and people try to avoid it, so you have to hold at least for a second, see that that's yours, it's there. You can't run away from something that's inside you. If you fight it, uh you lose, because like so, one of you will lose,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. So let's start with self awareness and let's start by naming it. Let's
Yes.
name what's going on in there.
Hmm.
And note, I didn't say let's analyze. Let's just
Yeah.
name.
I
Let's
said
just sit
you
with it.
can
No,
don't go there.
yeah. It is
It's
what it
scary.
is. But by naming it, bringing it out into the open is probably the first step in beginning to manage and deal with whatever
Hmm.
that thing that you named is. So let's hold for there for today, because if
Yeah.
we carry on to the next phase, we're going to be here for another hour or
We'll
two.
go down the scary slippery path
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
real self-development and growth
Yeah.
because it's dirty.
So let's start by naming it.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, have a think. What is it that you need to name? Don't dwell on it. Don't let it beat you up. Don't use it to beat yourself up, because people are very good at doing that in my experience. Just name it. You're not about shaming it either,
Hmm.
because that's one of those kind of trendy phrases that drifts around: name it and shame it. Let's not do that. Let's just name it. Let's be aware of it. Let's be curious about it. And
Yeah.
we'll come back to you on this
Yeah.
in our
We
next
will.
episode. Okay. Take care, everybody. Speak to you again really soon.
Bye. See you.